Okay. Hello, Algorators. Court is back in session. Come on in here because tonight is juicy and we are ready for you. I'm Al Reynolds, and this is the Court of Public Opinion. I'll be serving as your judge, and you, the viewer, will be the jury. Now, listen, the Court of Public Opinion is a place where you, the people's choice, can and will be heard. Be sure to hit that like button. Also, be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you are subscribed, be sure to hit that share button and invite other friends in. And don't forget, let's crowd that comment section up with a whole bunch of good questions because we will come to you, the jury, after we have discussed all the cases. All right, so for us to get started tonight, let me introduce our two legal beagles, and you know who they are. Attorney Symone Redwine, welcome to the show.
Hey, good afternoon. Good evening.
And also, let's welcome that criminal defense attorney, Brion Ross.
Hey, how are we doing?
All right, everybody. Court is now in session. First up, Diddy do it again and again and again and again. P. Diddy is back in the Court of Public Opinion. This time, it's another sexual assault accusation. And she's claiming the R word. How many times are we going to see him back in the Court of Public Opinion? How many times are we going to see him in court? Redwine, talk to us about this. And what is the significance? Because let me tell you something. When you're in the middle of a federal investigation, to have more and more and more come forward to prove what they're already trying to prove can't be good. Redwine, help me out here.
Absolutely not. So listen, lean in on this, y'all. I'm giving you the legal tea. So we are going to continue to see these kinds of cases from back in the day. This case was from 20 years ago. We're going to continue seeing them until March of 2025. Until next March, y'all. And that is because they are able to file, as in the victims can file under the adult. It's not the Adult Survivors Act. That's what Cassie used. And that's the one that closed back in November of 23. But they can use the New York's Gender Motivated Crimes Act. So that was the act that I used to file a lawsuit against R. Kelly when I represented one of R. Kelly's victims. And so it is basically allowing people who, even if they miss the statute of limitations initially, they can file under that until March 1st, 2025.
Wow. So you know what? This is what I want to talk about, criminal defense attorney. If you were representing Diddy, and you said it from the very beginning, the problem here is that there are too many witnesses.
Many witnesses.
Well, listen, this is more than just witness. There are too many victims. There are too many victims. And let me tell
you where I was going with that.
Yes.
That we said weeks ago, too many witnesses. He brought up just now too many victims. When you add all that up, it's too much. It's too much. And it's like even the people who are not being truthful are going to start coming forward because they see the gravy train. I don't know.
We had a case like that here in Houston. In Houston, it was Deshaun Watson. He was the quarterback of the Houston Texans. And there was initially like one or two women who came forward and said basically they were masseuses giving him a massage and he asked for a happy ending. And then all of a sudden you had buku women, some of whom were lying out the side of their throats. Yes. But they were like, hey, attorney approached me and found out I had given him a massage during the same time frame. I'm gonna raise my hand so I can get a 6-figure check too. It happens.
It happens. And so when you look at where he's going with another person coming forward to give it back to the judge, he's really in a tough spot. I mean, even he could. I looked at the statute this afternoon. He could be charged criminally. He could be charged criminally.
This is my thing. This is my thing, Attorney Ross and Attorney Redwine. You ain't got to convince the jury of much here.
Right.
With all these cases, you don't have to convince the jury of much here. He's doing it all by himself with all these cases going forward. I think, Cassie, after people saw that stomping, after people saw that violation of that woman's basic rights, I think people are now, they feel confident now to come forward and speak against him. I think this is only the tip of the iceberg. And I think that that's going to make these charges easier to bring forth and easier to convince people. What are your thoughts, Attorney Redwine?
I do agree with you, but I'd be interested in seeing how it's going to play out. As in, is it going to be like Harvey Weinstein, where he had some duplicate victims, were tried together, but he also had subsequent cases? Or so here, the more different victims that are tried together, the more likely and the easier it would be for him to be found guilty. What do you think, Brian? You're the criminal expert here.
I mean, with all these things, you don't know what's going on in the investigation in the background at all. Like you're trying your best to kind of sort it out, but you just can't tell. I mean, you just looking at it like this, you just can't tell.
Well, I disagree. I think you can tell. I think this is an easy argument of pattern. I think this is an easy argument to convince a jury that, look, we have a guy that this is just who he is. The process, the defense attorneys are going to try to paint a different picture, but I don't need to paint a particular picture because I have 10 victims who are all telling you the same thing about this guy. And it's basically, to me, like almost like having precedents, right? I mean, when you have 10 people, all 10 people can't be making the story up, right? All 10 people. And this works well for those who are bringing the charges against him. I just feel like that across the board, this is not good. Now, this is my question to my legal beagles. At this point, the level at ugly that this can get, is there anything that he can do? Can he just can he say, I want to settle? Can he say, can we take this off the table? What can he do?
On the civil side, you can always settle.
Ching-a-ling.
But the criminal side, all you can do is plea, and that's only if a plea is offered to you. He's not going to plea on that criminal side. What do you think, Brian?
New York extended their risk for arrest, charged with a crime on rape to 20 years this past year.
Jesus.
So, and there's a 2-year look back. That means that the statute can go beyond the 20 years by 2 years because it can look back at certain patterns of behavior that may qualify under exceptions, obviously like a toddler or a very old person. In this case, Diddy may still be within that. Now, obviously, Diddy has some sort of clout or he would already been arrested already. I think most people agree with that.
I think that 20 years is for minors. I could be incorrect.
It may be just, it may be like it's brand new.
For minors, and I believe in New York, it is 3 for that if they're adults. But then in California, as we talked about before, kidnapping does not have a statute of limitations in California.
How about Florida? You've done quite a bit of activity down there in Florida.
It's always Florida. It's always Florida.
It's always Florida. Right. I don't think they have
I'm from Ohio, man. I'm from Ohio, okay? So, now, Judge, if I could say this, he's in a big situation. He's suing him for lost wages. He's saying that he intentionally suppressed her career. Huh?
You said he or she?
I'm sorry. She is suing for lost wages, saying that the actions suppressed her career. It's a huge, huge problem for him. I mean, he doesn't want to litigate this case. Symone, what do you think?
My issue it's really making me sad when I think about these victims, thinking from the perspective of a plaintiff's attorney who represents them. And I represent them on a contingency fee basis, right? Which means I don't get paid unless I win for them, which is this. It's going to take so long for her to get justice, for Little Rod to get justice, for any of these other victims to get justice here, because they don't simply have insurance policies that could pay out on behalf of the corporate entities here in the way that Cassie did. Because what she discussed was basically he raped her in the bathroom of a social event.
Right.
And so with that in mind, what really frustrates me is we know he's an abuse. Well, we do know. We know he's an abuser, and we know that he likes to. And abusers, they like to hide their money because they don't want it to be seized, for court cases. So thinking about how difficult it is, my first thought was how like entities like Peloton are saying they're pulling his music. No, this is not the time to pull his music. We need to dance to his music, just
That's
like we
true.
need to dance to R. Kelly's music.
Create victim.
Literally, that is the only
That is
way
really.
that these victims.
I gotta give it to you. Brilliant.
Well,
Absolutely
listen. Hold on. Order in my court. Order in my court. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. We're not dancing to anybody that beats a woman like that. No, ma'am. What we're not going to do in this court of public opinion is dance to anybody that beats women like that. Now, I understand that y'all are saying that's the way that they get paid. But listen, this man is a billionaire. I'm not going to make a sexual predator, because that's what he's coming off at this time. I'm not going to make a sexual predator that takes advantage of women more wealthier by listening to his music. I would petition counselors. I would petition his royalties. I would petition.
Your Honor, if you would let me finish, that's what I was going to explain.
Okay, I didn't like how it came out. I didn't like how it came out. I don't like
what I was going to reference was the strategy for the R. Kelly cases, right?
I'm not dancing to nothing that man plays. And listen, I like to dance. But what I'm not going to do is support a predator like that in any way. I can't do it. I can't not do it.
Okay,
You got my blood pressure up, Redwine.
Understood. I just want to give the audience the facts so that in the chat they can drop whether they would dance or stand still. But here's the parallel. In the R. Kelly side of the cases, I was actually the first one to file of the civil suits against R. Kelly. I drafted it. You can Google it. My name's on the bottom of it. I wrote it. But another young lady, I believe her name was Heather Sanders, was the first to get her default verdict and then went to Sony, sent Sony a letter and said, Sony, I have this default for $4 million. I want you to hold his royalties until I get the court to order them paid to me. All right. So she sent her letter via mail. Then there was a studio that he failed to pay $3.5 million to. Judge ruled that the victim, Heather Sanders, gets paid first. So at the time, Sony had only $1.5 million in R. Kelly's royalty account. And the court said, you better give every last dime to that victim. Plus, as he accrues more royalties in the future until she gets her $4 million, don't nobody else get paid first. Wow. So that's just an example of how that is the safest way for victims to get paid. Because otherwise, literally, we as attorneys would have to be running around trying to seize assets that honestly we couldn't seize because he was using them in part as collateral for his bonds and the fees to his attorney.
I got it. Thank you for that. But we're not dancing. We're not dancing to that music.
I know.
I'm about to throw
Judge, if I may.
No, sir. I don't want to hear what you got to say, Attorney Ross. We're moving on. Y'all done got my blood pressure up. That pissed me off. It's my courtroom. Let's keep going because we got a lot to cover. And we know that Attorney Redwine has got to leave us early tonight. So we got to stay within this time restraint. Excellent commentary. Thank you very much, Redwine. But we will not be dancing to P. Diddy's music. All right, next up, Britney Spears is in the court of public opinion. But Britney Spears got out of her conservatorship because of the court of public opinion. Public opinion saved her, and now they're saying she needs to go back in. All right, Attorney Redwine, talk to me here. What's going on with Britney Spears in this conservatorship? And the public got her out. How's the public going to put her back in? How is that going to make that judge look? That judge became extremely popular, extremely famous because he was under pressure to take her out, and he did it. They revered him as a champ, as a leader, as a god. A lot of her fans. Now that same judge has to rethink that decision. What are our thoughts, Attorney Redwine, on this conservatorship being put back in place?
Your Honor, that judge that terminated the conservatorship is just as dumb as all the people on social media hoping and hollering, talking about is a
Looking real bad
conservatorship
right now.
without an evaluation. Your Honor, I've never seen anything like that. In order to get a conservatorship, you have to have a mental and physical examination by some type of psychiatrist, psychologist, doctor, etc., to state what is this person's mental state. And in all other situations I've ever seen, in order to terminate one, you have to have one as well. Here, there was so much public outcry, and the judge was running for re-election. The judge is a judge that gets appointed. Okay, this is why that matters, guys. And so therefore there was so much public upheaval, and this is what caused the huge public outcry at the time. This was 2022. Right. There was a rumor that was created that Britney's conservators bugged her room with cameras that were eavesdropping and videotaping her in her bedroom. That was not true, but there was so much outcry that that's what made the judge terminate it, even without a hearing. What was true was that Britney had gotten back on drugs. Britney had been committed to rehab multiple times. That is one of the things that your conservator can do. Even if you think you're perfectly fine, your conservator has the ability to put you in rehab to get you clean. And so that conservator went to the court and said, Your Honor, we are petitioning, and this was the lawyers said, we're petitioning to bug her phones to find out who her drug dealer is.
Right.
Same as the state would do, same as the feds. That's what really happened.
Now,
fast forward to today.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Fast forward to today. It's become clear she's gotten back on those drugs. She's on her own. Right. She is now dating a felon who's got a robbery charge. He's got another felony charge. He's got 10 kids he doesn't take care of. And he is supporting and also doing drugs with her.
Now, okay, listen to this, Attorney Ross. This is the part that if you're her lawyer, you're like, choke me or throw me away. She's on social media every day exhibiting behavior that would never.
This is awesome. I mean,
what part of that is awesome?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Whoever put this up on our show tonight deserves an Academy Award. I mean, I hadn't seen this. I'm in all candor. I hadn't seen this until this evening. I read everything. I looked at the legal docs. I hadn't seen the video. Oh, yeah. This is worth money because
it's like a drunk stripper on meth.
This poor girl, man, her dad did his best to protect her. I was with her. Let Britney out. Free Britney. But man,
what basis?
Somebody knew what they were talking about. I have practiced a lot of mental health law in dealing with criminal law. And you see certain patterns. People who have repetitive addictions to drugs or alcohol have a tie-in to crime and horrifically bad decisions.
Yeah.
And so you learn to guide these people who are important to you through the mental health and criminal justice system at the same time. It can be helpful. Britney Spears needs someone as an attorney, I'm telling you, to step in and say, listen, we got to, you look at this. Like, this is going to get bad real quick. Let's check into a place. Hey, we'll pick the fancy one in Malibu, right?
Oh, it's the Palisades. Oh my God, I've always wanted to go there.
That's what you want? That's what you want. There's a van coming to get you.
But I don't want those problems. I don't want those problems. But the other thing as well is her father has agreed she needs a conservator. And he said, hey, I'm not going to push for it to be me. My daughter and I have too much strife. I am fine with it being an independent person, like how Wendy Williams has an independent person. Yes. And that's what it seems like she needs, because she doesn't want her dad to do it anymore. And she might be more willing to listen to a independent third party who she's not going to claim like, oh, they're telling me this because they're trying to control me. No, they're telling you this because you're naughty and you don't want to take your medicine. She's not taking her medicine. She's drinking, which if you know any bipolar person, you know any person with mental health issues, alcohol mixed with their medications gets you this. She and her little felon bae, her and Fallon Bay done tow up 2 different Beverly Hills hotels, tearing stuff up. I mean, it's just bad chasing worse.
I just don't understand, and you guys may have addressed this already because me and my ghetto Boost Mobile internet connection here. I just want to, as her lawyer, my stomach would be turning. You can't argue. You have hours upon hours upon hours upon hours upon hours of evidence to show any jury that this behavior is not only erratic, but it's not consistent.
No.
It requires medical and personal attention. It's like, if you were her attorney, what would you argue? The first thing I would do is I would turn off her internet. Like mine is falling.
Baby, in the social media,
Get the judge's internet. We won't have a problem.
Right.
In the conservatorship, she was not allowed to post to social media herself, which is why we weren't seeing all that foolishness. They were posting for her, which was making her look like she had some goddamn sense.
God.
I mean, I think that if I was her lawyer, I would be quietly pushing for a Marchman Act. A Marchman Act. I would be, in my mind, you don't ever want to see that happen to your client, but if sometimes a Marchman Act is the best thing.
What is it?
You mean the Baker Act, getting committed?
Well, Marchman and Baker, they're not the same thing, but Marchman Act.
I'm sorry.
Baker's law. No, you're good. What do you know? Please.
No, tell us what the Marchers Act is.
The Marchman Act is when a family member calls you in and says there is a mental health crisis. All right. It can be drug related, but the purpose of it is mental health. The Baker Acting is more of a drug crisis. So you want to move it toward the Marchman Act because it appears to be mental health. The questions in the Marchman Act always boil down to whether you have insurance or not. Mental health is expensive. To go to 24-hour lockdown facilities, it's thousands of dollars. So if you don't, for all the people on the show, if you have health insurance for you and your family, add a mental health component where you think it's necessary. It's $9-10 more per month, but it can save you thousands of dollars down the road.
All right, everybody, you heard it right here.
Just to let you know, she's already spent, there was $2 million for her father's lawyers and $2 million for her own so far alone. So those saying her dad wasted her money, that hasn't been found to be true. The money has been spent. Right.
I've been saying that for a long, long time, since the very beginning. All right, everybody, let's throw some red wine emojis in that chat. If you're enjoying attorney Symone Redwine, and don't forget to throw some of those briefcases in the chat. If criminal defense attorney Brion Ross has taught you something tonight, and hey, come on, please load it up with those fax emojis as we continue this show to shed light on the conversations of the law and how the law applies to not only me and you, but to the celebrities that we use as backdrops. All right, everybody, we're going to move into our last discussion today, which I find most fascinating, and that is the #1 ranked golfer in the world has landed in the court of public opinion. Now, Scottie Scheffler has decided that the cops he don't need to stop for. He can not only not stop for them, but when they tried to stop him for going past him while he was driving a vehicle, he drugged them until he realized that he's made a mistake. Criminal attorney. I'm probably going to say it probably happened in Florida. I don't know, but criminal attorney Brion Ross, tell us what's going on here now. Tell us the whole story, because I need the backstory before I throw the book at him. He might be #1 in the world, but he's not above the law, and definitely not above the law in the court of public opinion.
And Judge, that's exactly what Louisville has responded with. So Scottie Scheffler is the #1 golfer in the world, the new Tiger Woods. He's got all the endorsements. He's got all the commercials. Just had a baby 3 months ago. He's won everything. So now he's at the PGA Championship, which is considered a major championship. The Augusta National, the Masters, is a major championship. This is a major, not a regular one. The golfers get their own courtesy cars, Lexus, a Buick, whatever have you. So he's driving his courtesy car in from his hotel to the golf course in Louisville, Kentucky at Valhalla Country Club. As he comes in, he sees a roadblock. Unfortunately, and we do mean this seriously, a person was crossing the path on their way across the golf course in a tourist shuttle, hit them and killed them that morning a couple of hours before he arrived. So when he gets there, there's a line. Well, he becomes nervous, not knowing what is going on. He's thinking it's a line for people to get into the course to watch the event. Instead, so he drives up on the median, tries to go around. He has a player's card in his car. Police officer doesn't know who he is, tells him to stop. He keeps going. Police officer puts his hand on the car and gets not really dragged, but walks along it for 10 yards. They arrest him, the #1 golfer in the world, at 5:30 in the morning for felony assault on a police officer and 3 more misdemeanors. What's even bigger now is he goes to jail. The owner of the country club goes and picks him up from jail and brings him back so he can make his tea time. Wound up coming in 5th place. But the bigger issue is, as a criminal defense attorney, I want to know, how did he get processed so fast? How did you get into jail and out of jail in less than 3 hours?
Because he's white. Sorry. Triggered.
Okay. Ripped off there. And that last part is the police union is now saying we're not backing down. He disrespected us. This thing is just warming up.
This is like super, super sad. But listen, you got to follow the law, sir. Sir, mister, you can't run over cops. I don't care who you are.
Colored boy.
Right. I don't care who you are. You can be number 1 in the world. You still have to follow the law, sir. Sir, mister.
But to play the advocate of the athlete, because I like the game of golf too. If the police didn't tell my client what was going on and he had the proper signage, how is he supposed to know what to do?
Order in the court. Order in the court. You cannot drive on a sidewalk. The sidewalk is not meant for cars. That's vehicular homicide, Mr. Brion Ross.
Comply.
Brion Ross.
The sidewalk you're mentioning, Your Honor, is not a typical sidewalk as it would be in some communities. It's a golf course median with trees that golf carts routinely drive over. It's something. It's not what you think.
Over and on are 2 different things, Attorney Brion Ross. Okay, everybody, we've got to make sure that Attorney Redwine gets out of here because she's got somewhere to go. So we're going to go to the part of the show where you, the jury, get to ask your questions. We're not going to get to a lot, but we're going to try to get to 1 or 2 for our viewers to make sure that we are answering your questions and that you are a part of this live and interactive show. All right, Renetta says kidnapping charges are still on the table, being held against her will. Kidnapping charges are still on the table, being held against her will. I don't think she's talking about this. Cassie.
Yeah.
We're not sure. They haven't brought the kidnapping charges yet, but it is something that we said here that the district attorney should think about. All right. Tam B. Dan said, I've been watching if Cassie could be held liable for any details her husband releases or shares. If he decides to spill some Diddy tea, could Cassie be held responsible?
You guys, you have to subscribe to my channel. I've been screaming this from inception. There is no confidentiality agreement. She did not sign a confidentiality agreement. There's nothing that she can't say aside from she may be limited to say the dollar amount that she received. Now that is standard, but she is not limited to speaking about that. Not her, not any of her relatives, due to the fact that both California and New York have laws that say when you're alleging sex assault or gender-based discrimination, you get to speak about it so others can be warned.
And also we understand that because she is cooperating with the federal agencies in this new case. And if she was gagged, that's something she wouldn't be able to do. Okay, let's go to Ashley Harp. Said, does Kanye need a conservative?
Yes.
Yes.
The answer would be probably
Kanye definitely needs a conservative.
Okay. Okay, so let's go to Amaris 80. If I were Britney, I would have left the country. Okay, that's not a question. My apologies. Okay, last question.
But you're not wrong.
She didn't go to Bali. All right, last question by Roy Net or Ray Net. Can we review the charges against Marilyn Mosby? Why isn't she a hot topic? Attorney Redwine.
Maybe let's plan for that for either later in the week or next week, because she's going to be sentenced soon, unfortunately, unless she gets pardoned. And it looks like if she gets pardoned, it's going to be after sentencing. So
absolutely. I can't wait to break that down here, because with the president, an ex-president who's done 10 times more than her, why is she going to jail for so long? And why is it so easy to put her in jail? Think about it. All right, everybody, this is the part of the show where we give our decisions, our verdicts on the people that found themselves in the court of public opinion. First up, did he do it again? Did he do it again? Is P. Diddy guilty or not guilty of doing it?
P. Diddy is guilty.
Yeah.
P. Diddy is guilty.
So we're gonna give him a guilty. Who was the second one for tonight?
He is guilty. The second one tonight is going to be the Britney Spears. Is the judge in the Britney Spears conservatorship issue guilty of making the wrong decision or innocent of making the right one?
He is so guilty. He made a selfish decision for his own election opportunities. Guilty is what I say. What do you say, Brian?
He went by the data. They had experts that were telling him what to do. I mean, the experts.
No, there was no hearing.
There was no psych, nothing that put this report in on
and
at
that's
all.
what was unheard of. They've never heard of one where you terminate without a hearing.
All right, did we say guilty or not guilty? Is she guilty?
She's guilty, but the judge is guilty of making the wrong decision.
Absolutely. I'm going to say in the court of public opinion, guilty. Guilty is charged.
Wait,
Diddy,
before you move on, Judge,
charged.
let me see that video one more time. Baby,
I cannot watch that wedge-shaped body swinging any more circles in my courtroom.
Oh,
All right,
goodness.
last up. Scott Scheffler, is he guilty or not guilty of dragging the police and not following the law? Attorney Redwine.
Not guilty.
He's guilty. He failed to comply. Oh, and you got
All
a
right,
super
Scott, you may be number one in the world, but in the court of public opinion right here, sir, you are guilty. Guilty
If it was Tiger Woods, you would have had a different answer.
All right, this will conclude today's sessions in the court of public opinion. Don't forget to leave us a comment. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you are subscribed, be sure to hit that share button. And y'all, you know we love your questions and your comments. Come on and give us some more comments. Court is now adjourned. Thank you for joining us.